I want to talk just for a second, just because I find it interesting. He tweeted back to me. This is fantastic. Your identity is not your decision. Your species and sex aren't up to you. Sorry, that's life. Okay, Matt, that's where we're going to pick it up. That's what we're going to start with, I guess. Sadly, I don't have my own current podcast like you do, so all I really have is a YouTube channel, which is not nearly as big. I'm not exactly hired by the Blaze like some people, but I really felt like I needed to talk to you. I can't just say things in a I don't even know if this will ever reach you, but personally I don't care. I just really needed to get this out. I can't say this in just a 150 character like conversation. What you're literally saying is basically that someone's identity is completely without their control, right? So fine, that's what you want to believe in, I guess. That's great, but the thing is, nobody else has to subscribe to that belief. Do you not understand that? Like, we live in a country that I suppose you supposedly, like, get this idea, right? That you understand that we live in a country where people are free. Like, the whole idea, the whole great American experiment is that we have freedoms, right? So with these freedoms, we are allowed to express ourselves and be ourselves in any which way we form, so long as they don't hurt. And I do mean physically harm, even emotionally harm other people, but I'll get to why that doesn't necessarily count what you're saying, because, again, you know, people do all sorts of crazy shit that their children and that their families don't want them to do, but they still have every right to do those things, because, again, they're not actually hurting those people. What they're doing is they're just living their lives. Like, if I got up tomorrow morning and I decided, you know what, I'm dyeing my hair pink, and my mom could say to me, or my sister could say to me, or my son or daughter or whomever could say to me, Dad, son, brothers, whatever, you're going to look ridiculous and you're going to embarrass the entire family. It's not their decision to change my hair if I want to dye it pink. Do you see? I know that's such a rudimentary analogy, but and I'm not trying to talk down to you. I understand you're an intelligent human being, and I know these are your beliefs, and they're very strong held, but this one thing, I can't let it go, because I don't understand. I don't understand why you care about somebody else's appearance or their gender or whatever the fuck they want to be. Let them be themselves. That's the whole point of this country that we live in, is that you can be whomever you want to be. You can grow up to be whomever you want to be. And you cannot and will not tell somebody that they can't be these people. So when you say, and I finally got to listening to your podcast. I will admit, when I made the original tweet that you retweeted, I hadn't listened to the podcast yet. I do listen to your podcast. I myself am not on the same side of the aisle as you are, but I actually am one of the people who like to be informed about other opinions besides my own. So, you know, consider this a healthy rebuttal. I'm not trying to insult you. I don't think you're stupid. I just think that you're misguided, is all this is. What I just can't grasp is when you say that it's selfish. You say that something is selfish. Something is inherently selfish. That means that it is literally taking something away from somebody else. And I don't care if you have a child or if you have a family. If it has nothing to do with them on the outside, other than their internal relationship with you. Like, and if you have a kid, you know, you can't tell me that there aren't people out there who have children who are of a certain religion, specifically maybe a religion that you don't necessarily agree with, and then they go and they indoctrinate their kids into that religion. And that's considered normal. Like, all the fucking time that happens in this country. People go out and get indoctrinated into a religion that they may, in their later lives, never ever even want to touch again. And that just happens. Because that's the thing. And so it's like, so if the parents make a decision, they say, our family is going to be a big Catholic family, and then every child in our family has to be Catholic, and we say this to be law. Some people would even argue that that is correct thinking. They think that's a good thing because it's something they agree with. It's something where they say, oh yes, you know, God is good and all that. And again, this is not an argument about religion, but that's my point. You know, people would say that and say, yes, of course. You know, this is how things should be. The family unit is so strong that everyone continues with it. So because you agree with those things, I'm not saying you do necessarily, but because people agree with those things, are those people inherently wrong? I mean, I would argue yes, but then again, you can't really say, because it's like, it's just part of exposure. It's part of, as a parent, when someone raises a child, the child ends up becoming exposed to these ideologies and these ideas, and sometimes they take them on, sometimes they don't. And, that's up for them to decide. But inherently saying that by choosing to be a gender that was not your original gender, I mean, for all the child knows, the one that you're talking about in the news story, for all that child knows, when they grow up, they have a father. And they only have a father. Maybe they don't even know until they're old enough, as if though it has to be taboo. To you, maybe. To me, not so much. When they're old enough to finally understand that mom, and I use the term as in, like, mother womb, the person whom I was born from was also my father, maybe. But they don't know any better. So how does it affect them? Suddenly, all to them, it may seem, is that they are just simply being raised by a single father, a single parent. They don't know. And it doesn't affect them. And if they do tell them, if they do say, hey, Johnny, or little Timmy, or whoever the fuck their kid's name is, if they do say to them, hey, Dad used to be a woman when he was younger. Like, that's just, that I was assigned female at birth. That's just who I am, who I was, and that's who I'll always be, because that's just what I feel inside, because, again, freedom to express themselves as they see fit. You can't tell me that that's going to hurt that child at all. That child has nothing to do with that. That child doesn't even understand the contextual... See, the reason it bothers you and people like you who have that ideology is that you've been grown up in that. You've been told your entire life that that is the way to think. But this child will have no inclusion in that whatsoever. This child will simply say, this is how it's always been. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It is not selfish to want to change yourself to be who you feel most comfortable. It is not selfish to ask that when you then do make that transition, that you want to use the bathroom that you'd feel most comfortable in. And don't tell me that that's weird, because the half of the matter is you don't know. How are you ever going to know unless you pull down that person's pants and go, oh, I see, even though on the surface you look like a male, you have a vagina, therefore you belong in that bathroom, the one that's labeled pink. Who gives a shit? Are you going to go do that? Are you going to go stand outside of every bathroom and wait until someone shows up and say, hang on, I got to do a penis check before you go into the men's room. All right, you're good. Like, no. No one's going to do that because A, that's fucking creepy, and B, that's completely against their rights as an American. Why is that so hard to, get? You can feel all you want. If you don't want to acknowledge their identity, I don't agree with you, and you're thinking of that. I find that offensive, but again, I won't say anything. I mean, I probably will, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to do much. I'm going to say, fine, that's just the way Matt Walsh thinks, and I'm going to let him go on his merry way. And then I'm not going to say anything else. But why can't you just say, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'm going to allow that person, because they too are an American citizen, I'm going to allow them to continue on being themselves. Because, hey, nobody's telling me not to be me. So why should I be able to tell anybody else how they should live their lives? To me, that sounds the most tyrannical and scary ideology that I've ever heard, is that we are allowed to police people just based on something that we think is right or wrong. So whatever you want to believe in that, that's what I don't get, is that you should not be around policing people and telling them how they should and shouldn't think. It's just scary. Frankly, it's just weird and scary. So that's all I really had to say. I couldn't say that all in a tweet. Would not work. Again, no offense to you personally. I truthfully do not mean any offense. You're a human being. You have every right to your opinion. I just think your opinion's a little weird and a little wonky and just kind of scary. So think about it. You probably won't change your mind. That's fine. But if you do, hey, we're all a little step closer to being, happier individuals. So, goodbye.